Welcome back to Unleashing You. Today, I talk with Emma-Louise Parkes. Emma-Louise is a former air traffic controller turned coach. She knows what it's like to regulate emotions and bounce back in an immensely stressful position. She self-identifies as an introvert while simultaneously breaking the mold of what being an introvert looks like. In the conversation today, she even taught me more about what being an introvert looks like. She brings energy, empathy, and focused questions, plus an unwavering belief in the power of quiet. Emma-Louise has worked with over 500 clients and touched the lives of over 80,000 people through her own podcast. In her world, introversion is not a mark of shyness or fear. It's a clue into how someone recharges their energy. And by showing ambitious introverts how to manage theirs, she's able to consistently and drastically transform how much they're able to achieve in their business or careers. If you are an introvert and thinking of starting or growing your own dream or your own business, this episode is for you. Welcome to Unleashing You. This podcast is your permission slip to create success your way. I'm your host, Amanda Riffey, a certified success coach and female business leader who has climbed her way up the corporate ladder. I've been through burnout and back and found the tools to bring fun and enjoyment to my career while creating powerful results and leading in a way that feels authentic to me. This show brings you conversations with women just like you who have created massive success for themselves and are doing it in their own way. We'll hear about their personal journeys of growing their career while still prioritizing the things they love most. If you are ready to be challenged and encouraged to reach your next level, then buckle up, sister, because the road to dreamy success begins here. Let's dive in. Emma-Louise Parkes, I am so excited to have you on the podcast today. How are you doing?
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here and connect with you again. And I'm doing really well. Thank you.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So for those who don't know, I was on your podcast first, and we just had, I felt like such a great connection, such a great conversation. And so here we are. So now I need to have you on my podcast so that we can talk about all things introversion, energy management, just all of the stuff that I know will resonate with so many of my listeners and the women in my audience as well. So I'm really excited to have you.
Amazing.
Yes. And thank you for coordinating the time because you live across the pond. So it is nighttime for you and morning for me. So I love that we were able to coordinate it. And thank you for being flexible on the time.
Oh, of course. It's strange because most of my clients are actually in the States and Canada, probably a good 90% of my private clients. So I end up doing calls at the later end of the day. And it's so funny because I see everyone's, they've got the sunshine in and, it's morning and they've got their coffee and it's dark here. I've got the blinds are drawn.
Totally.
I'm like, it's evening.
Yes. And that's what I think you and I have chatted about this before too. I'm also in masterminds and things like that with a lot of people from Australia. And so it's the same, it's literally the previous day when I log in to calls, it's the night before and they're already up the next day.
Yeah, it's so wild. I mean, it's so great having an online business and having that global reach. But yeah, I've had clients in Australia, New Zealand, and there's a 14-hour time difference between the UK and New Zealand at certain times of year, and it's completely opposite seasons. So it's so
not
weird.
to mention that it's cold or it's hot, and yeah, totally. Well, before we jump in any further, I want to just introduce you to our listeners. So can you just give us a little background on you, your personal journey, your career, your story?
Absolutely. So currently I am the founder of The Ambitious Introvert, which is a coaching and education company for, surprisingly, ambitious introverts. And also I'm the host of the Ambitious Introvert podcast, which you're a guest on, which is the #1 ranked podcast in the world for introverts. And previous to this, I worked in aviation. So I was in aviation for 23 years. 6 of that, I was a flight attendant. And then I moved over to air traffic control, which was my main career before this. But right back from, 2003 onwards, I've been involved in training, instruction, facilitation. That started off in aviation with like safety training and demonstrations, and then facilitation in safety between pilots, air traffic controllers, instructing and training new air traffic controllers. And all of that experience really led to me noticing that a lot of the people that qualified in that job, which is, very demanding job, I think they say 0.5% of people have the correct skill set to be able to do it effectively. But a lot of people fall by the wayside and don't finish the training. And what I really noticed is the way that those trainees talked to themselves made a big difference. So some of them would say, oh, well, if I can manage to qualify, then I'll do this. And some of them were like, when I qualify. And I was like, oh, how interesting that they've been through this huge testing process of 3 different interviews, psychometric testing, all the things. And they have been identified as being 2 people that have the correct skill set. They've been through 2 years of ground school training. They have exactly that level playing field here. And then they begin their training with live aircraft. And the thing that seemed to make the difference most of the time was the mindset. So I got really interested in language, mindset. Then I did coach training just for fun because, I like to
love it. Just for fun.
Just for fun. Back in 2016, not really thinking it was going to be anything, and used it a little bit with friends and all of that. And then started to think, maybe this could be a thing. So in early 2019, I got really serious. I joined a group program to learn how to start a business. I knew nothing about business whatsoever. And 2020, I took the business full time. And here we are 5 years later.
Oh my gosh. And I'm glad that you dove into how you went from, your career in aviation to coaching. Because if you weren't going to say it, I was going to ask you that question next. Because, to people listening, and I think there's so many people who listen to this podcast who maybe have a big dream of their own, and maybe they're living it, maybe they're working towards it right now, or maybe it's just kind of that in-between stage where we're talking about it, but we haven't really taken the action yet. And so I love to hear with all of my guests, just how did you actually do that? And so I think that you did a really great job of just explaining kind of the steps there, because it's not like overnight you just go from, oh my gosh, I have this, big giant career to, I'm just going to quit all of that and just start my own business. Like there's so many different stages that go into it. And I love that you talked about the mindset element specifically.
So many stages. And when I look back, there were periods of time that I massively self-sabotaged when it came to starting the business because I was so out of my comfort zone. And don't get me wrong, I was in this position where I had this job which was very demanding and stressful, and I worked shifts, and I was working full time, and that took a lot from me. So to learn how to set up a business, how to market, how to sell, how to position offers, how to use social media, all these things, it was big. But there was a good year and a half, I think, where I was just like, oh yeah, I'm setting up a business to everyone. I wasn't actually doing anything. I was like running off on holiday and scrolling Instagram, watching other people setting up. But if I look back and I'm really honest, I'm like, but I wasn't doing the thing. And so I think that's an important thing to share because we can think we're doing it. And of course, what happened was I felt like I've been doing this for years and it's not working. And I was like, well, it's not working because I'm not actually doing the right things that move the needle.
Oh, that is so insightful. And thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that. Because I always say, like, a dream is just a dream until we take action. We all have dreams. We can all just, talk about all the things we'd love to have or love to do or love to become. But it's when you back it up with that aligned action, that is what separates the people who create those dreams versus the people that just talk about them, honestly.
1,000%. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm curious, what were some of the limiting beliefs that came up for you, especially when you were kind of starting out and starting to transition into a business owner?
A big one was that I would never earn as much money as I earned in my job because I was obviously in a very well-paid job. Yeah, spoiler alert, I can.
I love it so much.
After 2 years, I was like, oh, what was I worried about? And that's 2 years full time, by the way, not 2 years of building it. But
Yes. Great point.
that was a huge one. I had I'd say I had a lack of confidence around my ability to coach. I was very involved. I was like, oh my, I've got to get people results and I've got to save them and I've got to do this. So there was a big limited belief there about like, what if people pay me and they don't get results? Which,
Yes.
I've worked through a lot of that. And it's funny looking back, I'm like, oh, I feel like a different person. But, this is what we go through, right? This is the growth. And the other big limiting beliefs were around marketing, selling, and social media in particular, because I was 39 when I opened those social media accounts. I was born in the early 80s. I didn't really, Facebook, I was already kind of a homeowner and like doing my thing when it got popular, and I never really got into it. So I'd always been very offline, analog type person. And suddenly I had to open these accounts and people were dancing around on video, and even like showing my face felt very indulgent. It felt very like,
Yes.
because that's the thing about like, oh, I'm taking a selfie and sharing it. And I felt like, well, why would I do that? That's just kind of weird. But I didn't understand sales psychology. I didn't understand that people needed to see your face to trust you. I didn't understand that I was a personal brand and that me being visible was a representation of that. And it's so interesting now because if I'm looking for, say, an assistant or something, and I see a profile or a website and they don't have their face, I scoot
I'm not
past.
looking. I'm not doing it.
No. And it took me a long time to get that into my head that it wasn't a vanity thing, but it was actually a really important part of business.
Yes. I hear that all the time. So I'm like, yes to everything that you just said, because especially the clients that I work with, there's a lot of them that have those same limiting beliefs that you just talked about around, I don't want to show my face. I feel like I freeze up when, the camera's on, or like, why do people want to see me? All of those
That was
things
my thing. Why does it matter what I look like? Like, they should want to work with me for how I coach. And then, a coach of mine said, but do you want to sit on Zoom for an hour every week with someone and you've never seen their face? Our face gives off a lot about our energy. And it's funny because I've had like 3 photo shoots since then. And I get so many compliments on my brand.
Yeah, your pictures are amazing. I love them.
My brand photos. And I just think it's hilarious how it's come full circle from me being like, I don't want to show my face to it actually being something that
Schedule me another photo shoot.
I'm like, dude, check me out.
But it's so true because you're right. Like that is where so if we're speaking to business owners or women who have that dream of, creating something and monetizing it, you are building a personal brand. And honestly, even if you're on the corporate track, you're still building a personal brand. Like
Correct.
The types of opportunities that you are attracting is a direct reflection of the brand that you are putting out there about yourself. And so I think that is just such a big shift. So thank you for going through that, because people need that trust, that connection. They want to see themselves in your story, whether it's coaching, whether it's art, music, spiritual things, like whatever it is that you're selling, they want to feel connected to you. I mean, even if you think about like really big brands that maybe we buy from now, like probably most of them, we know who the founders are or we know who the people are behind it because they have a personal brand. So I think that's just so important.
And the personal brands of the people behind the brands are bigger than the brands.
Ooh, say that again.
The personal brands of the people are bigger than the brands.
Yes.
Because people connect with the brand. And like you say, we know who they are. It's a huge part of it. And brands that are more anonymous and maybe have been around for longer and we don't know the founders, what happens? They hire celebrities to represent the brand. So they
Mm.
still have a face in a different way.
Yeah. I mean, think about the Kardashians, right? Like we know so much about them and they have
Exactly.
so many. I can't even tell you all their brands, like all of their companies, but I could tell you them. Like absolutely. Yes. It brings that connection. I hope you're enjoying today's episode. I wanted to quickly interrupt to invite you to schedule your own private coaching session with me. A standalone one-on-one session is the perfect avenue for those times when you need a kickstart towards your next goal. We can unpack so much in 50 minutes. You will leave your session feeling inspired, motivated, and with clear next steps that feel so aligned with you. These private coaching sessions are the quick hits that will uncover your mindset blocks and get you back on the fast track to whatever you're working toward in your career or life. Your session is your time, so we can work through anything that will impact you the most. Let me help you finally see your blind spots so that you can get out of your own way and head toward the next amazing version of you. Send me a message on Instagram or visit acrprofessionalcoaching.com to book your session today. Now, back to the episode. So I'd love to just continue on this topic of building that personal brand, building that business, building your dream, and doing it as an introvert. So you kind of mentioned in there, I'd like to highlight it a little bit more, that you said you have the #1 podcast for introverts. Is that correct? Did I say that right?
That is correct. Yeah, it's been a wild ride. The podcast's almost 5 years old. I started it during lockdown because I thought it would be a good way to connect with people. I listen to podcasts. I thought introverts listen to podcasts. Let's start a podcast. And yeah, 5 years later, last year we went into the top 2% of global podcasts. And then last week, my team was doing some research and checking the rankings. And yeah, we are the #1 ranked on the global rankings on Listen Notes podcast for introverts.
That is incredible.
Isn't it insane?
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And all of that started with just a tiny dream. Like, what if you had not bet on yourself? What if you had not taken those risks? What if you had not just started that podcast? And I'm sure if we went back and listened to episode 1, right, it's going to sound, you've evolved so much since then.
I dread to think. Although I did have my best friend on as a guest in episode 1, and I still, she's still my friend. So it probably would sound like an okay conversation. But yeah, the whole, everything I'm talking about has evolved because I've changed, evolved, grown. The business landscape has, changed so much since then.
And what if you had just not done it? What if you had just, because I'm sure you were scared. I'm sure you're like, what the heck am I doing?
I was terrified. I ordered the microphone from Amazon and I was working with a coach one-on-one at the time. And she had a podcast and that's how I'd found her. So I was like, well, I know this works because.
Yes, same. That's how I found my coach too.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, let's, what are we going to do? And she's like, you can start a podcast. And I was like, yeah, I've been thinking about it. And she was like, great. This is our first call. And she's like, introverts love a podcast. And she went, what are you going to call it? And I went, The Ambitious Introvert. And she went, great. That was it. That was the preparation that went into it. Done. Done. And then I went off and, started writing trailers and finding music and scoping guests. And it was very bootstrapped. I kind of did everything. Got someone off Fiverr to edit it. I didn't edit it because that's not my zone of genius.
Yes.
But everything, I created the artwork and it's so funny looking back, not the current artwork. I can't take credit for that. But yeah, it was done is better than perfect and just getting it out into the world.
Yes. Okay. So you have definitely built, I'm going to say an empire, right? We are building empires. I feel like you are building your empire. And you are very passionate about working with introverts specifically. So can you talk to us a little bit more about kind of some of the myths behind that? I think I'm either an extroverted introvert or somebody who's somewhere in between. So I would love to hear your take on just introverts in general.
Absolutely. Well, the psychological description has always been that introverts withdraw to recharge their energy alone, whereas extroverts spend time around people to energize. And I think that distinction rings true, but then a lot of people will say, like one thing I hear a lot, like you just said, they go, oh, I'm an extroverted introvert. And what they mean is, I need time alone to recharge, but I love people.
Yes.
And I'm friendly and I'm sociable.
Yeah. What's that?
Well, so am I. So you're an introvert.
Perfect. Okay.
Because ultimately, if you need to withdraw to recharge your energy, that is the introversion piece of it.
Yeah.
This is what people get wrong. It's that they think introverts mean antisocial or shy or nervous or socially awkward. And of course, there are introverts that are all those things, but there are extroverts that are those things as well. So it's not the personality traits. Like being chatty is an extrovert. I'm the chattiest person in the world. So I've been doing podcasts for 5 years, right? I coach my clients on voice note. Most of them don't have calls. We coach on voice. I'm the chattiest person in the world, but I am massively introverted and I need a lot of time on my own to recharge. And if you're in the middle, that's ambiversion, which
okay.
there's not really a specific definition, but it's the people I think that the way I see this, all introverts still need nourishing relationships and nourishing conversations and to be around people that they connect with, like this conversation with us, right? So I'm not going to go off this conversation and feel drained and exhausted because it's you and we get along and we have things in common. So that's where people get confused, I think, because they'd be like, but I love being around people. All introverts still need to be around, but it's the right people and maybe one-on-one or, a small group and not a huge group of the wrong people.
Yes. I get overwhelmed when there's too many people. Like I'll pull up to a restaurant and if the parking lot's too busy, I will just keep driving. Like, I don't even attempt.
Not available for that.
Oh, that's so good. Okay, thank you. Thank you for dispelling the myths. And now I just know I'm an introvert.
You can now just own it.
Yeah, that is how I recharge my batteries, either alone or just like on the couch with my husband or, something like that. Like it has to be very low key. And I definitely have to, even in my work day, which I think will play in well to what we want to talk about next. Like I have to put in breaks for me. Like if I have calls, then I know I need like a good 1 hour break in between there. Like I have to really replenish my energy in between different things. Like I cannot just go straight all day long. I'll be exhausted. So can you talk to us a little bit? I know you work a lot with like energy management versus time management. Can you talk to us a little bit about that, especially as it comes to, we'll just keep on that same topic of building a business, building our dreams as an introvert?
Yeah. So it's understanding that as an entrepreneur, you're going to get pulled in many different directions and there are going to be many opportunities. And there are about 1 billion different ways that you can do things. And our energy gets fragmented if we're trying to do everything all at once. If we think of our energy as having like a potency, then if I'm trying to do 7 different things, that energy's scattered and it's not as potent. Whereas if I'm super focused on 1 or 2 really intentional needle moving things, then it's much more powerful. So I always work with clients on what are you doing? What are you saying yes to? What do you need to be saying no to? What actions are the things that you can keep doing, keep giving your energy to? Because, from a more woo perspective as well, energetically, if we focus in on that thing, we are showing that it's important to us and that's where we're going to get the response. But the other way is understanding that we've all got things that we're excellent at. We've all got tasks that drain us. And that's not to say we don't have to do them. Of course, we'll have to do things sometimes. I have to do my taxes. It drains me. I'm not good with maths. Right. Some people love that, give them a spreadsheet and they're happy as anything. But it's recognizing that there are tasks that will energize me, just like people, and tasks that will drain me, and managing my energy to make sure that I am not giving it all to the tasks that drain me to not have anything left in the tank for the stuff that's really important.
Yes. Yes. That is so insightful. And I have a chapter in my book that say, like, if it's not a heck yes, then it's a heck no. Like, there's so many times that we are just giving our energy to things that we don't necessarily need to. Maybe it could be delegated. Maybe it doesn't need to be done at all. Maybe it doesn't need to be done right now. And like you said, like those are all energy leaks, like worrying, thinking about those things, trying to keep it all in your head. Like all of that stuff is just leaking our energy. So I think when we can get really focused on, that's why I'm big on creating a vision of where you want to go. Because I think when you can create a vision of what's next for you or who you want to become next, that then becomes the blueprint for you of, okay, what things am I saying yes to? What habits am I creating? What am I giving my energy to? Because if you're giving your energy to things that are getting you closer to that dream, you're going to feel so much more lit up than just trying to go a million different directions.
You know, I just had this exact conversation with a client like 2 hours ago where she goes, I'm just feeling a bit scattered and I don't know if I can keep all of this up because she has a job and a business and then she's committed to doing something else that's separate. And I said, have you lost sight of the vision? What's the vision? And she's like, I completely have. I'm just responding to things as they come in and saying yes. And I said, it's really about knowing what the outcome is you want and being ruthless in saying no to anything that doesn't get you closer to that. But also, I think what we can often do is be presented with an opportunity and we think about it. You know, we give a response. Oh, do I want to do this? Don't I? Or actually, what is much better for our energy, especially as introverts, is knowing, like you said, our hell yeses, but also knowing what our no's are. So for a long time, I had a no about being a part of a summit because I'd been burnt doing so many summits and, you know, they were always in a bad time zone because I'm in the UK and there was so much marketing for, and I'd end up like sending so many emails and then I didn't get anything back for, and it was just a big, you know, lift and a big effort. So that was a real like hard no for me. And it was just, no matter how juicy the opportunity might seem, I was like, it's not worth it. And I remember being invited to one summit and it was for introverts. So, you know, it should be perfect. And I responded to the lady who was arranging it. And I said, I'm really flattered, like, and thank you so much. But summits are just a hard no for me at the moment for my energy. So I'm going to have to decline. And she was like, oh, you know, that's fine. You know, thank you for letting me know. A week later, she came back and she said, I think I need to work with you as my coach. Because she recognized,
oh, that's so powerful.
That's where she had been leaking energy. And she's like, I actually really respected that you said no and you were so confident about managing your energy and what was right for your business. So she became a client for a year.
Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. So I feel like the takeaway from that is, yeah, just being able to prioritize or just figuring out like, okay, what is the vision? What is it that you're working towards?
Yeah.
And then what are the things you're going to say yes to along those lines? And then everything else has got to be a no, unless you feel like you really have the energy for that. Because I agree with you. I think too often we just scatter between all these different quote unquote priorities and we lose sight of where we're really trying to go. And I think that is the biggest piece there.
And when we make everything important, actually nothing's important.
Oh, yeah.
These 5 different things are important. No, they're not. They can't all have equal importance. And that, I think, is, as an entrepreneur, one of the hardest lessons to learn. And also learning that because it's important to someone else and they might be pushing their urgency onto you, it doesn't have to be important for you. Don't get shiny object syndrome about what everyone else is doing.
Oh my gosh. And that is so easy to do. So
easy to do.
Well, that worked for them. Like, let me go do that thing. And this new thing's coming out. Oh, I do need to learn these TikTok dances or whatever the things are. And if that doesn't align with your vision in the future, like you don't need to say yes to that. So I completely agree with you. Ugh, all right. We could keep talking on this topic forever, I think, because again, we just have so much in common when it comes to those things. But if somebody's listening to this, craving more, wants to connect with you, wants to figure out how they can work with you, what would their next steps be?
So if you head over to the website, which is very conveniently theambitiousintrovert.com, everything is there. You can sign up to the newsletter. You can find out more about me, about how to work together. Also, the podcast is on there, so you can go binge that. There's, I think, 210 episodes now, but really everything is on there. So however you like to consume your content, then please connect.
Oh, beautiful. And I heard that you had a really cool guest on a while ago. Her name's Amanda Riffey. So like that would be a good episode to listen to.
Yeah, I remember her. She was pretty good. Yeah.
Pretty good. I mean, she was
definitely
fine.
check that one out. Yeah.
Amazing. Thank you so much for coming on and just sharing your knowledge. I learned so much today, and I know other people did too.
Thank you. It's so lovely to see you again.
Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode. If you'd like to continue this conversation, connect with me on Instagram and say hello. You can find me at AmandaRiffey_coaching. In the meantime, if you know you are ready to step into the next incredible version of you and want to completely accelerate your personal and professional growth, let's work together. I offer one-on-one private coaching as well as workshops and in-person events. There's really something for everyone. To learn more, visit my website at acrprofessionalcoaching.com or send me a DM on Instagram and start a conversation. And don't worry, I truly want all of us to succeed. So I promise I will never steer you wrong. Let's create a career and life you love. Chat with you again soon.